Sales organizations, no matter what industry, are not that different in terms of what they're trying to do. Like, it's rare to meet a company who doesn't want to sell more profitably, and sell more using less. It's very easy to get pulled into those zones. What I'm looking for is I'm trying to get high in terms of why are they looking to sell more? And then I'm trying to get low in terms of specificity of how and what they're trying to get to. So to give you an example, the other ChatGPT prompt I use all the time is, who is the CEO of X company and what are their most recent interviews about the company's growth strategy? The reason I do that is because if I can start the conversation with something that the CEO is talking about, that I think in turn makes it easier for the sales cycle to move later, versus if I start down here with, oh, this process sucks and I don't like it, and then I have to elevate it up, feels like there's more drag on that route. Y'all know I love Nate Nasrallah. Nate Nasrallah did a post a couple weeks ago and he quoted a Reid Hoffman quote, which said, as a CEO, your number one job is to decide which fires to let burn. And why that relates to this conversation is, in every business, there's problems. There's an endless amount of problems, an endless amount of things that are broken, but they don't resource them all. And so if I don't attach up here to a higher level business objective, then I might spend a lot of my time trying to put out a fire that the company is totally fine letting burn. I think it's really important to both think about the anchor points of high, what is the business trying to achieve? And that's what I get from that ChatGPT prompt. And then low, what is that underappreciated root cause or driver as to why the problem is as big as it is today?
You talked about in the prep, making sure that you don't just sell, we need to generate more pipeline as the thing they're trying to achieve. You need to get much more specific to make sure that your solution is actually moving the needle on that goal. Could you talk about how you actually do that in a discovery call? I think you talked about figuring out what they're trying to achieve and what might make that hard is what you were describing.
I don't believe in scripts, but I do believe in, I learned this from Challenger, like having a choreography to the call so you can like move and dance and things go a different way, but you know where you're going, you know what your guideposts are. So the way that I do it is, in the beginning of the call, I'm doing what we just talked about. Like, I'm anchoring on, do I understand what the company is trying to achieve? Then step two is then I'm getting into how they appear to be solving for it today. So if I'm working with a big public company, I can often find this stuff either in investor relations reports, investor reports. Sometimes like the executives post about it. We want to grow X% in the enterprise segment. Here's how we're thinking about it today. If it's a private company, I might have to kind of make an educated guess. That's why I'm falling back on some of that work that I talked about of like looking at your case studies and looking at other customers that were like them to see how others approach it. My second step there is to say, it sounds like you're trying to get to this. Seems like this is the reason why. Where am I wrong? Now I'm saying, one of the things I've seen in doing research on the business is it appears that the business is focusing on a couple things to get to that objective. If it's not public and I don't see that in public information, I'll swap that out with, now, I don't know how you approach this, but when I work with companies like A, B, and C, similar companies, some of the most common ways I see them trying to approach this is through A, B, and C. And I say, but how are you different? Help me understand, how is it different for you? And at every turn, what I'm looking for is that correction, because a correction is discovery, right? When they correct me, now I know more than I did in my own research.